Welcome back to another episode of Hanging with the Herd. We're here with Coach Ruff, Coach Vondo, and Coach JD. No Adam today. He had other things he had to do. Actually, you know what? Shout out Coach Y.
Yeah.
Coach Y is getting an award. Coach Y is the director at Minnesota. She's getting an award. Does anyone know what it was? I can't remember off the top of my head.
It was like influencing women in the professional.
Yeah, influencing women in the field.
Yeah.
She's a legend. So shout out Coach Y. Super helpful. One of the best people out there in the field. If you ever get a chance, talk to Coach Y. Hopefully she hears this. Shout out Coach Y. No free shout outs. But yeah, we're back. What is this? Episode 4, I believe. Episode 4 of season 2. And we're gonna go on like a little what would you call it? Series. We're gonna go on a series, and we're gonna call it Road to Strength and Conditioning Professional. And we're gonna do one of us each pod, talking about our road to becoming a strength and conditioning coach, how we got there, how it started, where we went, different things like that, different experiences we had, and just kind of give a different insight, because I think every one of us has just like a little bit different of a approach to it and different take, and definitely probably have different experiences and had different people influence us along the way. So that's going to be our series for the next 5 podcasts. So definitely going to be a cool thing to listen to and keep listening on. So make sure you check those out as we go on with those. Remember, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we are now on YouTube. So make sure you go check that out. You know, YouTube tried to hold us up, tried to lock us down and not let us get out, but we figured it out. We got the pod out there. It's missing like a 30-second segment because of copyright, but it is what it is. We got it out. But make sure you go check us out on YouTube. If you check us out on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button for us. We'd greatly appreciate it. Maybe hit a little like too for the boys. And you know, if you have a video, we'll return the favor. Boom. But yeah, throw a comment down there and let us know what you think. Make sure on Apple Podcasts and Spotify you hit the subscribe, follow button too. But let's get right to it. You know, don't want to waste too much time. Then we get to the exciting stuff. Thought of the day. JD, do you want to go first?
Let's go.
Let's go. I want to hear this.
All right. So it's not so much a thought, more as a fact here. I know everyone loved the duck comment last time. So this one, did you know humans aren't the only animals that get high?
Yeah, dolphins do too.
Dolphins, yeah. They use
off of what?
The puffer fish,
the
toxins from the puffer fish. Obviously, if they do like breathe in or drink, or I don't know how they do it, but if they get too much, they die. But they use just a little bit of it, like they'll actually like play with the puffer fish, so it releases some, and that causes the dolphins to get high. And so dolphins are more like humans than we knew.
I mean, dolphins are pretty smart.
Yeah.
You look at them in those little talent shows or whatever.
Yeah.
Talent shows?
Not talent shows.
Oh.
When you go to the aquarium, you see the trainers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. Fun fact.
Yep. Just a little fun fact.
Was that the only animal?
Yeah, this is gonna be JD's new series. We're gonna call it Fun Animal Facts with JD.
The bird. What was it? Pigeon or something like that?
No, the duck, dude.
The duck, man. That's super animal.
Yeah, for sure.
You can fly, swim, run.
I feel like
your facts can do it.
Your facts should only be about ducks for like the next 3 weeks.
I could probably find some duck ones.
JD's duck.
Did you know my senior pictures has ducks in the background of it?
You know what we should do?
You
know what we should do is before JD gives his thought of the day, put on that duck song in the background as his little intro.
The lemonade stand?
The lemonade stand.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know what song that is.
Yeah, look it up.
Walked up to the lemonade stand and he said to the man, run the stand. Hey, bump, bump, bump. Got any grapes? Never heard that? Never seen that?
Never.
Bro,
what?
What were you guys doing when you were in 2nd grade?
You guys never watch YouTube? Like, I barely watched YouTube, and I knew that one.
We weren't watching the same YouTube videos, man.
Nah.
Right.
I was watching Charlie the Magical Unicorn.
Dude, it's the same thing.
It's a double rainbow.
Ouch, Charlie.
Ouch.
Different Charlie.
That is a different.
Different Charlie.
Damn it, JD.
Thanks for
What-
tuning in to JD's animal fact of the day. Vondo, you're up.
I'm going with my boy LeBron James. In about 2 or 3 games, he's about to be #1 all-time leading scorer in the NBA. He is, I think, 88 points away. So my thought is, when can we officially, as a world, as planet Earth, decide that LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time? Here's a couple other facts. So not only is he be #1 scorer of all time, #4 in assists. He just did that yesterday. #9th in steals. #10th in defensive rebounds. #9th in 3-pointers made.
Okay,
On top of his 4 championships, 4 MVPs.
how many minutes does he have compared to everyone else?
He's up top 2, I think.
Can we also
Yeah.
look
But
at
hey,
who's
but
number
longevity-
one? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
I
Yeah,
think
he's
if
about-
those guys had the same recovery and spent $1 million on their body, imagine if Michael Jordan had
Wait,
all
wait.
that recovery tools.
It was
Where would he be today?
1996. Not that
What?
long ago.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar though only made like 3 3-pointers or something like that, something crazy. So
Yeah.
he did all that with 2s. That's what's even kind of wilder. But he was also dropping like 60 bombs, dude.
Yeah, he was also playing against garbage men, janitors.
It's fair. Different athlete.
But yes, that's my thought today is LeBron's about to be #1 all-time leading scorer in NBA history. I think he deserves to get the nod for GOAT.
I think there's
Coach
always going to be
James.
people that say yes, and there's always going to be people that say no. I
Yeah.
think he is. I mean, he's beaten some of the
Yeah.
best teams in the world, so ever.
Yeah.
So I think he's the best player ever. I mean, he's still dropping 40 bombs, and he's like 40. So
Yeah, and says he wants to play another 3 years, so we'll see. But
Yeah,
I
I can
thought
see
of that.
JD's point about like the recovery aspect and like the science behind everything he's probably doing. But at the same time, like Vonda, like you're totally correct about the different style of athlete and like the genetics of the
Oh
athlete
yeah.
nowadays. Like, yeah, he would probably go back in time and actually slap around the majority of the greats. Like, he's a specimen.
But it's also like, think about it. His first year was 2003, so he's been around a long time. He's old already. Like in professional athlete terms, he's pretty old. Now you get all these guys that enter the league 2016, 18, 2020, like even the last couple of years. Like these are stud athletes at the top of their game, like best athletes in the world, and he's still at 40 years old, just running through them. So
I wouldn't say running through. What's Lakers record right now?
he's running through.
he's running.
The
through.
Lakers,
Oh,
the
okay.
Lakers are
Lakers are not.
not running
All
through.
right.
Lakers are like
No, I'll
12th.
say it's impressive at his age. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
Nice. Rough.
So, would you rather lose both your arms or both your legs, or one of each? You can go one of each.
I'd probably go one of each.
Yeah, probably one of each.
Vondo.
Mm. Yeah, one of each.
Am I
was
losing
thinking
my?
about-
Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking about like driving and all that, and like you can drive with one hand.
Am I losing my legs at like my hip, or am I losing at my knee? I think that plays a factor too.
I was thinking more like full robot leg, like from the hip.
From the hip,
Oh gosh.
that's tough.
That is tough. Are you even able to sit? Are you
Yeah,
able to sit?
Well, have you ever heard of the dude, that one-legged monster? He was like an ex-military guy. You know, obviously he's a veteran. He got wounded in combat and lost like his whole leg, but he's an absolute tank now, and he still like deadlifts 600 pounds. But he literally has like one full leg gone.
I think I've probably seen it. I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of people like deadlift or clean without either arms
Talking
or
about-
legs.
Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, the real life lieutenant. Dan.
What about you, Justin?
I mean, I'd probably go, one of each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If you had to choose one or the other, though, what are you choosing?
Probably my arms.
Your arms?
Yeah.
I think I'm choosing my legs.
Your legs?
Then you gotta have someone to feed you, give you.
No, bro, you could use your feet.
I'm not that. I got long legs. I can't.
That's
I'm
even
not that
better, dude.
mobile.
Yeah, but you would be that mobile once you lost your arms. You'd have to be.
I don't know if I'm at this point I could get that.
Yeah, you
I'd
still
probably
have to
go
get rid of your
legs,
legs,
too.
bro.
I'm going legs.
Dang. I think I would go. I don't know, dude. I like walking.
I like
Yeah.
eating and sipping.
Wheelchairs are fun.
Yeah, I
dude,
guess it's like
I like
Hey, you
gaming,
go.
sit
bro.
all day. It's the
I'm
sitting.
probably going legs. I got a game, dude.
You gotta be miserable the whole rest of your life. You might as well enjoy it gaming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's a good point.
Just become a professional
streamer.
gamer or streamer, make money.
I could make my name.
You could make money,
The no legs guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you just sit and play games and stream all day,
Perfect.
get tips.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll have a bunch of comments. Here, buy some legs.
Buy a duck while you're at it.
All right. My thought of the day is for one of our listeners, Zach Nussbaum. He did not like my comments about track and field and tried to tell me that it's one of the top sports in the world. So, of course, naturally, I Googled the top 10 sports in the world. And I just want to fill you guys in on the top 10 sports in the world. According to, this is Sportytel. It's the top 10 most popular sports in the world, 2023. According to statistical revenue generated from professional sports in the U.S. will reach 83. That's blah. Our ranking is based on estimated number of fans, including global audience reach, TV views, online popularity, social media and search results, gender equality, sponsorship endorsement deals, and the primary population region. So number 10 is golf with 450 million fans.
Gotta love watching some golf.
Yep, I do like
It's actually
golf.
fun.
Yep. Number 9 was rugby with 475 million fans. Still no track. Number 8 was baseball with 500 million fans. Number 7 was basketball with 825 million fans, with a picture of LeBron on here. Number 6, big shocker here, table tennis. Table tennis has 875 million fans.
Table tennis.
Not track,
Huh.
table tennis, which if you don't know what that is, ping pong.
Ping pong.
Ping pong.
Ping
Forrest
pong.
Gump.
Ping pong.
Number 5 is volleyball, which has 900 million fans. Very, very popular in South America, Western Europe, Australia, and Asia. Number
Now,
4.
question.
Yeah.
Do you think that combines beach and regular volleyball?
I would
in
assume,
that?
yeah. But I know indoor volleyball is like very, very big in like Japan. Because our team travels there.
Really?
Yeah, very, very big.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
You ever seen them videos of like how they choreograph their cheers and everything in the audience?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh yeah, they'll do like choreograph like side like whole sections of fans will do like a specific cheer, like stand up at a certain time. It's crazy.
Interesting.
Really?
Pretty cool.
I would say pull that up, but
Yeah.
we don't want
copyright.
YouTube getting
Yeah.
angry again.
Number 4 is tennis with 1 billion fans. Again, update. 7 sports, no track. In case you're listening, Zach. Number 3, hockey at 2 billion fans.
Let's go.
Shout out hockey, no free shout outs. Number 2, cricket with 2.5 billion fans. And number 1 sport in the world is not track. It is football, or also known as soccer, with 4 billion fans. So, update, Zach. Track sucks. Yeah, that's my thought of the day.
Yep. Yeah, that was a solid thought of the day.
Yeah,
I think
thank you.
Zach will think twice. I think I have to just throw this out there. This is directed towards one individual. I do love all of my track and field athletes that come through the weight room. Zach, that's
Hey,
problem. You
I
deserve
think-
that one.
I think there's some great track and field athletes. Don't get me wrong, but the sport overall, it's just the culture of the sport. I don't like it.
PRs, baby. That's all that
Shrug
matters.
shrug emoji at Zach Nessbaum.
Mic drop.
Oh, guys, I got a great I got something for later. Okay, cool. Good. Any other thoughts? Any comments? Any news? Anything we need to get off the table? On the table? Off the table?
Tom Brady
hey,
retired,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
big. Big
Yeah.
sports.
For the second time.
or
The second
second
time.
or third or fourth. I don't know.
He said he used his long speech last year, so he's just got to keep it short and sweet this year.
Mm-hmm. Bondo, what'd you have to say?
our kettlebell January kettlebell challenge. Did we
Oh, yeah,
review
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
How'd
Thoughts?
it go? How'd it go, boys?
I thought it was good. It
I
was,
added the band midway
yeah.
through.
Did you
I
like the
kind of
band?
switched it up. At work, I did the band for the last couple of days when I was working out there. But if I was at home, I was still just using my 97-pound kettlebell.
Did you like the band?
That was enough.
Yeah.
It was good.
The
It
biggest
felt
thing
about
was
the same.
my grip. I think developed some grip strength during the month of January doing those. So
Nice.
a couple
Yeah,
times it almost slipped out. I was like, oh, there's a mirror in front of me. Don't let it slip.
Dude, I did that dumbbell that one day
Oh,
to
that's
show
hard,
like you
dude.
can do swings with a dumbbell instead. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I was holding on for dear life.
What kind of dumbbell?
After about just like a
Like one of the
rubber.
rubber ones?
Yeah,
Like the Intech or the York.
it's
It's got like the
it's called
Pentagon?
Troy, but yeah, it's that shape.
Yeah.
I got you.
So it's just fat, and I'm just like
Yeah, those are
this,
hard.
swinging. I'm like just holding on for dear life.
They
That's
get
all. I could
slippery,
barely
dude.
count because I was just trying to hold on.
Yeah,
dude.
it was good though. I enjoyed it.
Good. We'll talk
Yeah.
about the new one at the end. We'll get to that. All right.
Not only is the breath belt the fastest way to teach diaphragmatic breathing, but now it has become widely used by athletes all over the world. Wearing the breath belt before, during, and after exercise has drastically improved warm-ups, training, and recovery sessions. If you're looking to improve your diaphragmatic breathing and your overall well-being, go to everybreathstronger.com and order your breath belt today.
Let's talk road to strength and conditioning professional. Today, I'm gonna start and just kind of tell how I got into it. And then if we have any questions, we kind of go along with that and then just get it going. Cool.
Let's do it.
All right. So for me, strength and conditioning wasn't like my first like passion or anything like that. I didn't even really think about that it could be a job and to like the level that like I know of it now. But for me, it really started in high school when I was playing sports. So mainly football. Our football coach was our strength coach, very high school. But I loved what he was about. He was a very like mental toughness and mental strength person. And as a high school kid, you know, like that's awesome. Like it's really easy to eat that up. And I really resonated with it a lot. And I really liked lifting weights. I really enjoyed it. I was never the best at it. Like there's lots of dudes who are way stronger, but I really enjoyed like getting better at it and figuring it out. I liked a nice little pump, you know. And then I started getting into it because I liked looking good, and I started like doing a lot of just like basic bro lifts, and I didn't really still know anything about it. Like I knew nothing about it. I just liked when it was hard. Like I liked a challenge. I liked our workouts that were miserable and not fun. I enjoyed that because like for me, I was never the strongest, but I was always, I would say 9 times out of 10, the most in shape out of anybody on the team. Like, so for me, like a hard lift, I could get through and I'd be fine, but I enjoyed the hard lifts. And then like when I got to wrestling, I really started to like it because I was cutting weight, so I always found like different ways to work out, things like that. And I enjoyed like the mental side of wrestling, because like wrestling's it's a different sport. Like it's a
Yeah.
1v1. Like you got to wake up early, you got to cut weight, you got to, I was jumping rope in my family room, cutting weight before a tournament, like things like that. Like it's probably not the best way to do it, but like you just did it, and I think wrestling taught me a ton, and I really enjoyed that aspect. And then through wrestling, I had a coach, his name's Gary Hartman, one of the best coaches I ever had. Like I still stay in touch with him to this day. He's become like one of my best friends. And he was in my wedding. He was one of my groomsmen. And he was a phenomenal coach, and more than a coach, like he became, well, at that time, he was like a second dad to me, and amazing guy. But he taught me, I learned a lot from him about like what being like a good coach was. And that was very important for me, because it was like coming into high school, like you had your football coach, but like, there's 100 kids, right? Wrestling, there's like 30 kids, right? So I built a way stronger relationship with him. I connected way better with him. Football is just football, right? You just go out, you play football, you go to practice, things like that. But deep down, like really found a passion for it then. And I always knew like I wanted to coach at some point. I loved playing sports, but I felt like coaching them there's something cool about it. Like something cool about training somebody and helping somebody get better. Like I love that aspect of it. I love that side of it. Whereas like, okay, I might not be the best at doing this, but I understand it and I know I can help you get better at it. And that's something that always resonated with me. I like that, like the coach's eye, where you can like watch something and be like, okay, I can see this and I can see what you need to do, and here's how you can do it, kind of thing. Like I think like that's something I was really good at always, and I really like that. But overall, like it really started with when I was younger. My dad was always my coach, and I love that side of it too. Like my dad always pushed me, like always on my ass, always like making sure like making sure I was working the hardest, whatever, like never let me slack. And I think that helped me carry on into when I got to high school, when I got to college and things like that. So when I'm there, I like strength and conditioning, I'm like, didn't know it was a job. So I go on to college and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a PE teacher. That seems cool. End up not liking that because I didn't want to be a teacher. And then I got into like physical therapy. So I'm like, I love sports. I can just help people get better at sports. I broke my leg, so it was easy for me to resonate with that. And I got through physical therapy stuff, and I was going through classes, and I started taking physics, and the physics I was in was just not for me. Like I didn't want to learn why the train was traveling this fast and going to this distance and all this, and the balls dropping to the ground. And that was so boring. And it's just like, it didn't resonate with me. Like I didn't get it. I didn't want to do it. And so I didn't go to class, blah, blah, blah. It just sucked. So now I'm like, okay, what the hell am I going to do? And at the time, that was when I was in college, I had an awesome strength coach. His name was Sarge. Shout out Sarge. He just retired. No free shout outs. But awesome dude. And his name, you called him Sarge because he's just a hard dude. It was great. It was loud. Always had good energy, and it was awesome. Made my experience in college way better. But I started to like fall in love with strength and conditioning more because like we started doing cleans and snatches, and you started to understand form and technique, and really like, okay, like if I can get better at form, I can get stronger way easier than doing all the shitty form than trying to get better at it. So I started like really diving into that more and more and more. And like I was never like the star football player, things like that. So like I really tried to find passion in the weight room, and that's where I thrived. We did fitness or conditioning or hard stuff in the weight room. Like that's where I thrived. So I kind of like started to like see if I could make that into something. So I ended up, it was like towards my senior year. I ended up asking Sarge if I could just like shadow him, intern with him or anything like that. And he just kept saying, yeah. Come back and talk to me in like a week or something like that. Well, I kept doing it for like 3 or 4 weeks and he ended up leaving and taking another job. So I'm like, okay, well, back to square one. And luckily the guy who was like interning with him got the job. And it was his first like big time job. So I asked him, I was like, hey man, can I like, is there any way I can help, be around the weight room? He's like, yeah, because he wanted any help he could get. And Coach Wells, shout out Coach Wells. But he's the one that really got me going in the field. He gave me golf and tennis, and I started programming and working out these teams as a intern. I was still playing football. I was still going to class. And I would still coach throughout the day. So I had like crazy busy days. But it was awesome. I loved it. Now, did I know what I was doing? Absolutely not. Not one clue. I'm surprised I didn't give these kids rhabdo or something. But I learned a ton from it. I learned a ton of what not to do. I learned a ton on like what's the word? Time management. I learned how to like actually get myself set up. I learned a lot of hard lessons too. And that kind of goes more into my GA. But I was interning with Wells. I interned all the way till the end of football. When I was done, that was like a year and a half later. By that time, I'd started to kind of pick up some other sports. And when I was done with school, I was like, all right, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to start applying for some GAs, maybe go apply for some grad school, things like that. Just go figure out what my next steps are. And probably a couple weeks before graduation, Coach Wells calls me and a buddy of mine into his office and ends up offering us a GA position. So I'm like, hell yeah. Like in my head, I'm thinking like no brainer. Like I had nothing else planned. I'm going to do it. So I ended up taking the GA and I got 3 sports. I got soccer, softball, or women's soccer, softball, and cheer and dance. I had only trained male athletes up to that point. I had never worked with females. So my first initial thought was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Like I've never coached females. I've never been around a female team like that. So it was a whole new experience. But what it really made me do is I really had to kind of like figure out like, okay, I really need to understand strength and conditioning, learn and get into it more and really dive into it. So that's when I really started getting into like studying for my CSCS and figuring that all out. And I started to dive way more into it. That's actually when I went down to Texas for my internship also. So that was my first experience. At that time, I didn't know like internships were even a thing. Like I didn't know you could just go intern at big schools like that. So I went down to Texas and it kind of just blew my mind about like what was going on over there. Cause I didn't know it was that intense. Like I knew it was intense. Like I knew football was intense and stuff, but all the guys that were there were all like 25, 26, 27, 28, like older dudes. At the time I was I think maybe 21, 22 maybe. So I was definitely the youngest one there. They all had a bunch of experience interning all these places, already had their master's degrees. Some of them had like wife and kid. Like I'm just like, hey man, I just graduated college. Like I didn't even know you could intern, like nothing like that. So I was like so out of my element. And I thought I knew stuff. These dudes knew stuff. Like they were on their shit. And I'm just like, I'm trying to like keep quiet because I don't want to say anything dumb. Ultimately, I regret my time there because I know what a good intern is, and I was an all right intern. Like, and I'll go into that more, but so I'm there and I'm just trying to soak up everything these guys are saying. Like if I hear them talk about something like in a conversation, I'm writing it down and I go research it that night. Like I got to know what these guys are saying so I don't sound like an idiot if they talk to me about it. But I was super intimidated, especially around like the athletes. I was always intimidated. Like I was always quiet. I didn't feel like I belonged. I would call my dad every day when I left for work, like left work to go home, because it took me about 50 minutes in traffic to get home. Or like on the way there, it took me literally 5 minutes to get there. It was crazy. Traffic in Austin's terrible. But I'd call him every day and I would just say like, yo, this isn't for me. I don't think I'm gonna do strength and conditioning anymore. Like, it's just not my thing. And then other days they'd be like, man, I love this. I want to do D1 football every day. Like, this is awesome. Or I'd be like, I only want to do small schools. I don't want to do big schools. And then I'd go back again. Oh, I only want to do big sports, D1, blah, blah. Like every day it was something different. My dad would be like, oh yeah, just keep going, stick it out, blah, blah. And he was great. He really kept my head on straight during all that, because there's probably some days I would have packed up and left. But I learned a ton there. I definitely felt as an intern, that was my first experience as an intern, other than being at my own school. So I was around all these athletes, big D1 athletes, like big time guys who are on TV all the time, like this and that. I don't know why, but I felt super intimidated. I felt like, they saw like this dude here, he's just an intern, like little scrawny dude or whatever. And I don't know. They probably didn't think that, but that's what was going on in my head. And I was always just like super intimidated by it. Like I was just like, just did what I was asked, didn't go above and beyond. Like I wasn't just there, but like I didn't like understand the opportunity I had fully, I think. And I definitely wish I would have done more. Like when I would go try and talk to a coach, I don't think I asked good questions at all. Like I feel like I just forced questions just to ask questions. And I definitely wish I could go back and like change that. Especially with like the knowledge I have now, which is tough. But that's why like I really emphasize like how to ask questions and stuff to athletes or interns. At Texas, I met a lot of good dudes, but like I didn't grow like connections like I did at Minnesota, just because I don't know. It just wasn't the same vibe. I wasn't ready. I wasn't like prepared mentally for that internship. But I did learn a lot of stuff, and it definitely prepared me for when I got back as a GA. And I learned a lot of stuff that I did want to do and a lot of stuff that I didn't want to do. I think that's very helpful too. So I got back to start my GA. So this is my first semester as a GA. I took a lot of stuff back with me. I learned how to program a lot better. We read tier system down at Texas. Now I didn't program exactly like it said in tier system, but what it did help me do is it helped me create cards for my athletes, and it helped me set my programs up better for success. It helped me to find a purpose in my programming too. Because I think sometimes I would kind of get lost on like what I was trying to do. I would try to progress things just to progress things. And I think it kind of showed me that, I could spend 4 weeks on one exercise on one day, and that's fine. Like we can just get better at it as we go on, or add weight. That's still progression. So that was definitely helpful in my approach towards strength and conditioning when I got back and started to actually program for teams. But I definitely learned of things that I did want to do, like, certain exercises or how they coach things, or different energy things. And like, I tried to take like some of the stuff back with me to Hastings, and it was like a different atmosphere where, like at Texas, they would have the door shut, the guys would be outside, they open the doors and everybody would run in, which is cool with like 50 football players. But then like I try to do it like cheer and dance and soccer and stuff like that. And they did it well, but like my softball team was not about it, bro. They just did not vibe. Honestly, I don't think I vibe with them either. Like I got along a lot better with soccer and cheer and dance. Softball team just wasn't there. But so we go into the GA, and my boss, Coach Wells, he was very big on building relationships and very big on, creating culture and creating a strong culture in the program. And for me, that was stuff I did not care about at all. Like that just wasn't my vibe. I was there for strength and conditioning. I was there to make people better. I was there for the science side of stuff. Like that's what I cared about. And I think the best thing that ever happened to me was that I was there with him. Because if I never would have been, I don't think I would have been that invested in the culture side of stuff, or that invested in actually building relationships with athletes and I wouldn't have seen how important it is so fast. But he really instilled that into us. And that's actually where like the thought of the day thing comes from is, you know, when we would start workouts, we would warm up. And then after every warm up, we would give a thought of the day to the athletes. And it'd be anything from like motivational to something going on in the world, something like that. Just like something to kind of like remind them like, hey, you know, like a lot of times it was like a quote and then a story off a quote, or you tell a story, something like that. But it's always like how I looked at it is like, hey, like I'm human, you're human. Like here's a little dose of motivation to kind of get you going for the day. Or hey, this is something I can help relate myself to the athletes to help, you know, maybe build some buy-in and things like that. And I think it helped a ton. I really enjoyed doing it. I don't do it to this day. I do it kind of differently with like I put a quote on the workouts, but I definitely think it was something that helped at especially a smaller school like that. But overall, my time there was phenomenal. It really forced me to learn a lot and forced me to teach. It forced me to go out and learn for myself too. Like I couldn't just rely on other people teaching me stuff about strength and conditioning now. Since I was a GA, like I had to have the responsibility to go out and like, okay, what book can I go read to learn more about programming, or what articles can I start to read, or whose podcast can I listen to, things like that. That's when I started finding like strength and conditioning podcasts, because he would require his GAs to listen to 2 podcasts a week, and then you had to talk about them. So I was like, okay, like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to listen to something that's actually going to help me. You know, I'm not just going to go out and listen to some podcast that's not going to benefit me in any way. So that's when I really started to dive into like strength and conditioning podcasts. And I would listen to a ton all the time, take notes on them. And then he would have us also like read a book too. So you had to like read a book. And then when you're done, you would end up like talking about it. It's like a book a month or something, which I kind of wish somebody was making me do that now, because like it just forces you to learn so much. And like, you know, it's so easy to just be like, oh, I'm not going to listen to a podcast right now or something like that. But it's like, how easy is it when you're driving to work, just throwing a podcast, or you're sitting in the office and you're programming? You could just have a podcast on the background. You might hear like just enough, a little piece of something to kind of get you intrigued on something too. So I definitely need to get better about that. But that was a huge, huge time in my life of development and growth when it came to strength and conditioning, was that 1 year GA period. I learned a ton when it came to the strength and conditioning side, but also in the interactive side with athletes. Learned how to really work with a wide array of different athletes. Soccer is so different than cheer and dance is so different than softball, and softball is different than soccer. So it's like, okay, how can I relate to all these different athletes to get them to buy into what I'm trying to get them to do, and show them that it is beneficial for their sport and things like that. And then another thing was at Hastings, you know, we only have one weight room. And at the time, it was a lot smaller than what it is now. So it's like some days I would have to go train the whole softball team on our like indoor area with bands, and that's it. So it's like, okay, how do I put a whole team through a workout with just like a bag of bands? So it's like you're being super creative on having them do step ups on a bench bleacher that you can bring out, and have them do box jumps or multiple box jumps up the bleachers, or you're having them do you know, depth drops off track pads, you know, the pads that they high jump onto or things like that. Like you're using those for something, or like you're finding all these different ways, and it forces you to be so creative. And I'm definitely super grateful for that, because I think it's really helped me when I've gotten to like Newman. When I was at Newman, like I was the only person with like a small income, or not income, but like small budget with a small weight room. It's like, okay, how am I going to make this work? And I think having those days at Hastings definitely prepared me for things like that. So that was definitely my first experience in strength and conditioning. And I think it's one of the most important parts of my strength and conditioning journey, because I think it definitely gave me an idea of what the world was. So after that, I went and did the next summer. So I'd done my year with Hastings. I went to Minnesota for the summer, and that's when I went and turned up with you guys. Best summer. It was awesome. Like the best part about it was, yeah, we had a great time. Like we all clicked. Like the group of guys we were around was just, we all had the same mindset and the same goal. And that was just to be great strength and conditioning coaches. And it really fuels your fire because you're around all these smart, intelligent coaches. And you're like, dang, I just want to be as good as these guys. Like, I want to know what this guy knows. I want to know what he knows. Like, oh, he's talking about this. I got to know what that is, So it forces you to constantly just want to be learning so you can, be on the same level as all these other smart dudes that are in this room with you. Right. And that was big for me because that's what I needed. I was at a point where like I was at Hastings and I felt like, and there's nothing on anybody that was there with me at the time, but I felt like at the time, like I didn't have more to learn when it came to the strength and conditioning side. Like I felt like I had hit that peak of being there. That was more like I just had to go out to like learn more. Like I wasn't going to learn more there. So when I got to Minnesota, there was just so much. We all had different backgrounds, and we were all like teaching each other other things, and that was huge for me. So I finished like school wise, I was done with my GA, but I had another semester on my GA contract that I could go back and take. But I think I got about 6 weeks in, and I decided I was going to stay at Minnesota because I just wanted to. I knew I was learning more there, and I was going to have that place was going to have a bigger impact on my career going forward, and I needed to stay there. So ended up staying for a whole year after that. Had the opportunity to work with Corey Peterson, soccer strength coach at the University of Minnesota, which was huge. I think he really had a very large impact on who I am as a strength and conditioning coach to this day. I think, the way my mindset towards training, how I train, different things like that, he's definitely had a major impact on that. And like, I'm sure if you came and saw a training session of mine, you'd see like doses of Corey in there for sure. I think we're all molds of all the coaches we've been around. And I think that's why it's super important to be around a lot of coaches, because if you're just around one, you become just that. You're just a replica. You don't really get to create your own strength and conditioning philosophy through that. But I definitely owe a ton to Corey for helping me throughout that whole process. He was he taught me a lot. Like, it wasn't just like, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. I could ask him questions. We could have good discussions about it. And, it got to the point where, one, I'd been there for so damn long. And two, he had, trust, like built that trust in me where he started giving me like athletes to work with, and not like develop programs for her, but he'd be like, hey, here's a program. You take her, I'm going to take the rest and stuff like that. So he gave like, that helped me like build like coaching. What's the word I look for?
Autonomy,
but also like, like, I guess belief in myself. I don't know that's confidence. Thank you. Yeah. Tough word. It helped me find like a little bit of confidence in myself too, working with all these different athletes and stuff. And not that I didn't have any, I've definitely felt confident in coaching, but it definitely just grew that more and more. And I think it showed me that I could definitely be a coach at the D1 level too, where like when I was at Texas, I didn't have that thought. Like, I didn't know like if I could do that yet. But when I was at Minnesota, I was like, okay, I can do this, 100% I could do this. And I owe a ton. He taught me a ton about when it comes to heart rate, GPS, training philosophies for soccer. I knew I wanted to work with soccer, but he helped me really understand what it takes to get to that level and what to do when you're at that level, how to work with soccer coaches when it comes to practice, games, things like that. And that helped me so much. So absolutely owe a ton to him. And then I built a great relationship with him too. You know, he was in my wedding also. He was one of my groomsmen. One of my best friends, and you know, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't take that leap to stay at Minnesota. So definitely super important part of my career. I think something that's important with it too is I think it's definitely important to build relationships with strength coaches. And I think because this field is very involved, or it's very important to have relationships when it comes to applying for jobs with this field. It's a lot of who you know. And I think, you know, Corey definitely helped me in that field when it comes to applying for jobs. You know, he definitely put his neck out there for me multiple times. It was a lot of interviews that I didn't do well or I didn't get the job, and I always felt so bad. So like, damn, man, this dude's putting his neck out there for me. He's really risking, like, putting his name like behind me, saying like, hey, this dude's got it. And then like just wasn't good enough. So I always felt like, damn, man, I'm just like letting this dude down every single time. But he definitely put his name out there for me. So definitely a major coach that had a huge impact on me as a strength and conditioning coach. I would say him and Coach Wells for sure when it comes to who I am as a strength and conditioning coach. I think something that's been a huge factor for me too was, I think, my first major interview. I had an interview at Georgia, and that was when I was still interning at Minnesota, and I got to pass the first level and I got an on-campus interview. I had no idea what to expect. I'd never had an interview like that. It was an all-day thing, and I think I was so overwhelmed on the fact that I was interviewing at Georgia and that it was like this huge position, and I bombed it. Like I thought I did all right, but like I look back and I'm like, damn, I wouldn't have hired me. Like I feel like I was just a nervous wreck the whole time. I don't think I answered questions well, and I think it was a great learning moment for me too. You know, to absolutely fail like that, I think it was huge. I think it taught me a ton about like, okay, you know, I need to be more prepared here. I need to be more prepared here. I need to be more confident here. I need to be more calm here. You know, things like that. It helped me a ton going forward when it came to interviews. So I think I needed to go through that too, to understand like, okay, this is where I need to improve. Like I don't have it all figured out. I need to improve in these areas. So going on, COVID hit. Pretty much Minnesota said I couldn't come back, which understandable. At that time I had applied for a job at Clemson, paid intern position. And I ended up getting that position. Well, it came down to Clemson was like the first school that came out with like all their COVID cases for their athletes. It was like something like 75 athletes tested positive for COVID. So I got a call and they're like, hey, we got to kind of put this on hold. We don't really know what's going on. We're just going to have to, I'll just keep you updated. So I was like a waiting game. And at the time I had applied for another position at a NAI school in Florida, Weber International. And so, you know, Clemson, big D1, ACC, or small NAI school in Florida that nobody's ever heard of. I'm like, I want to go to Clemson, right? So, and at that time, Clemson was all over Instagram, right? Their internship program was huge. Like everybody knew about it. I was like, bet, like I want to go there. I want to learn. This is a great opportunity. I was pumped. And it got to the point where Weber needed a yes or no. And I called Clemson and say, hey, here's what I got going on. Like, I just want to be straight up and honest with you. He's like, hey, to be honest, if you have something, I would take it because I have no idea when this is gonna happen. So I didn't end up going to Clemson. I went to Weber, and it turned out to be one of the absolute best experiences I ever had. I don't regret it at all. I was only there, let's see, June, July, August, September. I was only there, I think, 6 months. So I wasn't there long, but it was great. And so I think what the best part was, so we were all like paid interns, like a year-long paid intern. And we got there and it started with, we literally talked about the basics of strength and conditioning. It was like, okay, here's a binder. We're going to go over something new every day. It was like summer was like we had like 1 week or like 2 weeks before athletes got there, and it was just the interns, and we like talked about everything. So it was like first week, or like first day is like we're talking about like the SAID principle, right? We're talking about all this stuff like, hey, what's this? What's this? What's this? And we're going over all the basics. And it was like, dang, I already know this. But for deep down, I'm like, all right, good. I'm glad I'm like retouching on this because like some of the stuff I haven't talked about in a long time, And it was great to it was humbling. It was very humbling to kind of go back and like go through the basics and see all this. And it's like, okay, yep, that's good to touch on. Good, yeah. And then we talked about it and we dove into it. And actually, at first, I'm like, dude, this is so dumb. Like, I don't need to do this. But like, I look back and I'm like super pumped that we did that. I learned a ton. It was great to go back and check on the little things, just all the things that you learn, like first day in strength and conditioning that you never talk about again. And then we did a ton of like different like coaching exercises, and it was great. They put you on the spot, and I thought they did a phenomenal job. And I made really good friends down there. We lived in, I'm not even kidding, we lived in a bunker. Like the walls didn't go all the way up on the ceiling. So there was like a 1 foot gap from the wall to the ceiling, and everybody had like a cubicle. Like I'm talking like this room was no bigger than like, I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was small. You could fit like you had a desk, it was like desk, bed, and like a little gap right here. And that's all you had was it. Just like this little square. And the roof leaked like crazy. It was awful. So like it rained every day. Every day it rained and it leaked. So you had to like position your bed and desk in the room so you didn't get hit with water while you were sleeping. And it sucked. Like there was a point I took out a fire alarm because it leaked through the fire alarm. So I took out the fire alarm and I filled the whole area with like this hard foam, and I just got rid of the fire alarm. So like if our room caught on fire, we were dying. But luckily it rained, so it probably wouldn't happen. But yeah, man, it was a great experience. I learned a ton just about really diving down to the basics of strength and conditioning. And I think that's kind of when I got back to like not overthinking programming. Because I think I was starting to get to that point where like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. Got to do this. It was like, keep it simple. Like, don't overthink what you're doing. It's okay to have like basic movements and basic progressions. Like, I really started to like try to overdo everything. Like, oh, I see this person. I got to do this. I got to do this. And it really like kind of brought me back to like, okay, no, just like go to what works for you. Do what you understand. Do what you know. And if you see something, like go learn about it more, go understand it more before you start like progressing too fast on it. So that at Weber was like my biggest moment there. It was like, okay, I'm going to have like just do me. And that was also my first experience as like a head strength coach for sports, just doing strength and conditioning. That's all I had to worry about all day. So to me, that was awesome because I could just focus on that for the first time in my life, and didn't have another job. I had free housing, free food. So like, I didn't have to worry about it at the time. So it was super easy. Went on, got a call. Coach Wellshead got me in contact with a guy who's at a D2 school who was leaving, and he wanted to know if I was interested in taking a head D2 position. I knew it was going to make 3 times more than what I was making at the time. It was a head position, and I took it. So that's when I got the job at Newman. Hell of an experience. Started that job right towards the end of COVID. I got there in early November. It was just after Halloween weekend. The first day I got there, we got through like 2 workouts, and every team got sent home for the next 3 days because they had like 30 kids pot for COVID because they had all gone to multiple Halloween parties. So that was my first day. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a hot start. It was good though, because I could kind of like get myself together before I kind of got more athletes in there. But that place was great because it taught me a lot about, I kind of got more into like keeping it basic and understanding multiple different sports too. because at the time I had every single sport. I think it was like something like 16 sports. So I was like, okay, how do I not overload myself with trying to program individually for 16 different sports? So what I found was like, hey, I'm going to do on these days, I'm going to do the same movements pretty much for every sport, but I'm going to change up how we're doing them sometimes. And then I'm going to change up the accessories, and then I kind of had to learn, like I went and learned more about volleyball, like what I've never worked with volleyball. So it's like, okay, I got to learn more about volleyball. I got to learn more about basketball. Like, what are the common injuries? What do I need to know? And it really forced me to dive more into that. And then I had to learn more about baseball and softball too, or more baseball. But I wanted to learn more about the shoulder because I had softball, baseball, and volleyball. And that was the first time I've had that many like overhead sports. So I'm like, okay, I need to learn more about this. So that was the first time I really dove into learning more about just the shoulder complex in itself, prehab, rehab, anything like that. Like I wanted to understand that more because I knew that if I put that into the programs, they're going to buy into that way more. Because they're like, hey, this is for this to help you with your sport, so that was super helpful for me. I also learned to not overload myself, and it's okay to say no, and to understand that, like, hey, no matter what, if these kids are training, they're still going to see benefits from it. Because I didn't want to. I was getting to a point where I was trying to do way too much, and I was like bogging myself down. Like I was like exhausted because I'm trying to do everything possible because I thought I had to say yes to everything. I thought I had to write individual programs for every team. And I was like, no, like I'm not going to do that. That's not this way. This isn't the way that this is set up to be. Like if they want me to do that, they need to hire 4 more coaches here. Like that's just the way it is. And it worked out well. I figured out a system. I got it going. I think I learned more at Newman about being an administrator than I did being a strength coach. I don't think I really learned much about being a strength coach at that time, but I learned how to talk to coaches way better. I learned how to talk to administrators way better. I learned how to talk to like an athletic director because at the time I was trying to improve our weight room. I was trying to improve, different things for coaches. Every coach wanted something different, but I was only one person. So it's like, okay, I need to learn how to talk to them better. I need to learn how to relate to them. I don't relate to them because they're all probably like at least 10 to 12 years older than me. So it's like, okay, I got to build a relationship with these coaches so that I can be on their level and they can understand where I'm coming from and I can understand where they're coming from. It took a lot of keeping my mouth shut about my opinions and thoughts sometimes. And at the time, I wasn't very good at that, but I think that's where I learned how to do it the most. And then I think super important time because I think that's when I got the lowest in my strength and conditioning time because I had been there and I just wasn't loving that job. I wasn't loving being the only guy. Like I ended up getting assistant, but I just didn't love having that many teams. I didn't love not being able to relate to the kids outside of there because anytime they had practice or games, I always had a team. So it was like, I didn't enjoy that. And I wanted to get to the point where I only had 1 or 2 teams. And I felt like I'd applied to all these different places. I just kept getting passed over, things like that. And I was kind of sick of it. So and almost to the point where I stopped. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it 1 more semester and then I'm gonna be done with strength and conditioning. Just because I was kind of tired of everything that was going on. And I ended up getting 2 interviews at the same time. One was to a high school and one was to the University of Nebraska where I'm at now. The high school was in Nebraska also at the time. And I thought I did well in both of them. I didn't hear back from either for a while. And I was like, oh, okay, didn't get them. It is what it is. That happens. Sometimes strength and conditioning, they don't get back to you. I think that's kind of weird, but and then I ended up hearing back from UNL that they wanted to do it on campus. So I was like, bet. The high school one still hadn't heard back. So I'm like, cool, I'm just gonna go do the UNL one. It ended up going super well. And I ended up getting the UNL position. And then I heard back from the high school that I didn't get the position. So I was like, okay, the school you guys worship wants to hire me, but you guys don't. It's cool. I get it. Whatever. But this has been the best job I've ever had. It's definitely, I think it was a blessing too. Just the way it worked out with me and Katie getting married in the same city I got a job in a month before I got the job, or a month after I got the job. It was crazy the way it all worked out. But I mean, overall, I've had a long, windy road to get here. But I definitely think it was worth it. You know, I've had a lot of ups and downs, had a lot of people that have impacted me. But I definitely wouldn't have done it any other way, because I think every experience I had has led me to this point and led me to where I'm at now as a coach.
Damn.
Love it. I will
That was-
say, I
That's
want
cool.
to I want to just touch on your earlier part of your career. Like, it's really cool to like hear the full story of Hayden Jones, like as a strength conditioning professional, and like how you tied in being an athlete, being driven, always working hard, always having this tough mindset, to then integrating it with everything that strength and conditioning involves, which is competition, work ethic, grit, like all of those things. So like you were able to find that path eventually after wanting to be a gym teacher to PT, to then, hey, this is what I want to do because this is what I'm about. And I don't know, it's pretty cool to hear you tie in both of those things, and then obviously to see where you're at now.
Yeah. I think one thing, like, obviously we kind of knew the background because we were together for that summer, but it was cool to relate a lot of the things, like things that I don't necessarily think about, but like as you're going through it, I'm like, wow, I'm relating to that. Wow, I'm relating to that. And it's like, holy shit. And then also just to be like extremely proud. Like, it's so cool. You know, like, how old were you when you were at Newman?
What was that year? I think 25 is when I got it.
25. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
it just like I can't imagine just that progression. You know, I'm in your shoes, but like 2 years earlier. You know, it's
Yeah.
I like in his footsteps. It's kind of cool. So yeah, man, just want to say how proud I am. It's cool.
Appreciate that, brother.
I just remember when we got to Minnesota, I was thinking you were the smartest guy in the room. Like, you talk about us being smart. I was always like, God, these guys know so much. My brain hurts every day I leave this building, just trying to keep up with you guys.
When you were talking about Texas Tech, about like how you were an all right intern, and I was thinking back to like my first internship with Winona State and then up at Minnesota. I was like, damn, yeah, I sucked. Like it
Yeah,
sucked.
dude.
You're like, I wish I could ask the questions I would ask now. But back then, like, you don't know.
Mhm.
And I think that's a cool part that you're including. But yeah, I felt the same way. Like I'd be in that room with you guys. And I'd just be like reading what you've already read and just like, fuck, I have to catch up. Like,
Yeah,
I know.
I'll be honest. Like, Hayden was like, when we came in an intern, and like especially that first week, he had done it before. He was at Texas. Like, you can tell like he knew what he wanted to learn, what he wanted to ask, how he wanted to ask questions, and like, and you've been there, done that, and you too, Justin. Like you were there at Minnesota for a little bit when we came. So like, it was just kind of cool just to learn from you guys, because that was
Yeah.
my first internship. So
Yeah, dude. Well, Justin was the dude that was already there, so we're all like asking him questions. Like, it was like Justin was big guy on campus, man. He
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, I know this, guys. This is like over here. You can come here. I'll show you. So like Justin was the guy. I was like, oh damn, I got to talk to this guy more. I got to get to know him, you know. And then Bondo's over here talking about like neuroscience and stuff.
yeah, he's
When
all
I
like,
was- I'm like,
I was
system, and I was
fresh
like,
out of
You
grad
just
school.
came out of grad school,
I'm
right?
like,
I
hey
was
man,
fresh out of grad school.
I was like, hey man, can you send me some of that stuff? And I went and read it, bro. I'm like, God, I don't know shit. I'm like reading this. I'm like, oh my God.
I was so
dumb.
fresh out of grad school. That's hilarious.
Dude. And then JD's over here doing stuff with like Cal, like creating all these different things. I'm like, damn man, I
I
should.
know. I bring that back to you guys, and I
Yeah.
had no idea
Be
what
like,
was going
ooh.
on because I just missed 2 days. Because I'd be over there 2 days, and
big
I'd
time.
miss so much with you guys. You guys be 3 articles deep. I'm like, what the fuck are these guys talking about now? I thought I was up to date. I gotta go back, and I was trying to play catch up on both of them.
No, you just came back with like the weird fun shit. Like
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
that was when the peppermint essential oil and the
Yeah,
eucalyptus
peppermint.
and we were in
eucalyptus.
the office just like shoving it up our nose, like, oh yeah.
Oh my god.
It works.
Yeah. And then that makes me think now, like going back, like, what if Cal just tells interns like weird things that are not true, but makes them look super dumb? And he's like, yeah, go do this.
Yeah, it works. Trust me, it works.
Hey,
So-
most of the stuff I saw him do. So
Yeah, that's true. He probably does all of it.
yeah.
That was cool.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, you guys have all definitely had a huge impact too. I just think it's kind of cool to kind of look back at my road, and I definitely think a lot about like the Texas experience as an intern. I think that's had a huge impact on me when it comes to working with other interns, like interns that are under me now, because I want to kind of show them, hey, this is what I'm telling you. Like, I'm telling you this because I went through this. Like, I understand where you're at. Like today, we had a meeting with our interns, and the guy who's running the meeting is like, "Are you guys intimidated when you're talking to athletes?" And none of them said anything. And I was like, "Hey, it's okay if you are." Like, I 100% was when I was an intern at first. Like, absolutely. Like, I was around all these, big football players, like big time at the University of Texas. Like, they're the guys. And I was like, oh, damn. Like, I don't want to fucking say anything dumb or do anything stupid. So I was definitely intimidated. Like, I didn't want to, like, go out of, like, overstep or anything like that. So, I definitely told him that. I was like, hey, don't worry if you are. Like, easiest thing you can do is just go change some weights, like, just the athletes will see that and they'll notice you way easier. But yeah, man, been a long journey. It's definitely cool. Definitely still learning, definitely still trying to learn more, and definitely get better. So
Yeah. It was also cool to hear how you transitioned from relationship building towards that, like towards the culture piece. Because I think I was like the same boat where I saw you operating and how like Minnesota operated, and I was like, oh, I want to be the book nerd. Like I wanted to be the cameras on it. Like I wanted to follow in those footsteps. But then transitioning from like out of college football and learning more about culture and leadership into, the Merrimack thing, it was like, that's the missing link. And so that was
Yeah.
cool to see that you kind of flipped it over and that it's obviously an important thing.
I think
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Like at these big schools, when you have one or two teams, you can really dive into the science and individualize everything.
Mhm.
But when you become a head, the only guy, you got to reel it back, get back to the basics, and just build relationships.
Yeah, and it's kind of getting like I'm kind of learning more that I need to get into the culture side. And like kind of the way our team is set up here is like, our coach, he kind of lets the players kind of like, it's a very player-led, player-driven team. But like when I came in, like the culture was it was a little bit there. Like we were very young. We didn't have a lot of older players. So like when I came in, I really dove into the culture side too. It's like, hey, like this is where we want to be. If you guys want to win, like we need to have that mindset towards everything. It's not just one thing and maybe this or that. It's like everything has got to be like towards, wanting to win, wanting to be the best. And I've definitely kind of dove in more to the culture side more than I thought I would when I got here. Like I thought I would just be doing like the science, the sports, like all that little side of stuff. But it's been more about like helping the team develop a strong culture and, become a winning team.
That's cool.
Any last minute thoughts, questions?
Who's next?
Who's next? Vondo, you want to go next, man?
Let's go. I'm all for
All right,
it.
cool.
Let's
Next
do it.
week we'll have Coach Vondo. If you have any questions or any thoughts, please feel free to shoot me a message. You could leave a comment on our YouTube. You could message us on Instagram or Twitter, whatever it is. But don't hesitate to ask, reach out. More than happy to answer anything about my journey, about my past. Whatever it is, or if you have a question for any of the coaches and stuff, please feel free to reach out, especially through this whole series of Road to SNC Professional.
I did have a question for you, Hayden.
Yeah.
Earlier when you said you first started the thought of the day at Hastings, any duck facts in there? Thought of the day?
No
No
duck
animal
facts,
facts?
man. Nah,
No?
we probably had an
Okay.
animal fact in there, but definitely Doug didn't make it.
Ducks.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah,
All right. Just
Yeah.
just wondering. No.
yeah. I should have. I should have definitely brought that one. Yeah, definitely would have been a hit.
He'll check in next week and see if you brought any to this next week's thought of the days.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's hit sports real quick. What are our picks, boys?
Pick and score, right?
Yeah, you and Adam have to pick and score.
We're
Because
tied.
you guys are tied for first. So I'll let did you read the text already?
I just read it.
Don't read it, Vondo. Did you already
All
read
right.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
You're right.
Well, I'll just say it then. Adam chose Eagles 31-28. Bondo?
I'm going Eagles 24-17.
Oh, okay. JD, Coach Ruff, you just gotta pick a team. If you want to put a score, you can.
I'm gonna go Eagles. I'll go 28-10.
Nice.
28-10. Okay. Well, I'm pretty bad at this, but I hate the Eagles, so I cannot. I know, like, deep down, I have to say the Eagles, but I'm not. I'm gonna say the Chiefs because I just hate the Eagles. I'm gonna go with 27-23.
Dang. I'm gonna go Eagles. And I'm gonna go 30-27. So
All right.
yeah.
3-1.
It's gonna be close.
All right. We got that done. Challenge. New challenge of the month. Coach Ruff's not too excited about it, but you're gonna do 100 push-ups every day. So you can knock them out straight. You can knock out 10 every hour, something like that. You just gotta get 100 push-ups in a day.
That's why your shoulders and elbows hurt if you're
Yeah,
doing them like
that.
that.
No, I know, and
Jeez.
I don't do push-ups like that. Come on.
Jeez.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, that's our challenge. 100 push-ups every day. You can work to try and get as many as a row, or you can knock them out, set an alarm, do 10 every hour, 25 every minute, or every 10 minutes or something like that. But figure out a way to get 100 in a day. Cool. Word.
Love it.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers again. Make sure you check us out on YouTube if you haven't. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Also, make sure you share with a friend, man. Send your buddy a podcast. You know, they got time. They need something to listen to on their drives. Send them hanging with the herd. Other than that, we appreciate you listening. Again, if you have questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, send it our way. Other than that, catch you next time. Okay, how do I stop?